Okay, good. Whenever it is, hello and welcome back to the latest podcast. As you can see, we've got Steve Wild with us from Swinton Club itself. So thank you very much for joining us, Steve.
That's my pleasure to be on, Barney. Thanks for the invite.
No worries, mate. No worries. And as always, we've got Wayne with us. The reason I'm smiling is because you'll notice that Wayne's got a nice new Hugo Boss hoodie on. He's just been. We've just been talking about wine Oclock, which we've not done for a couple of podcasts, and we're going to bring back for this one. And literally, he took a sip of what he's drinking and just poured it all down himself. And then he wheeled himself around, going mad that he had water in his pocket. It's been absolutely brilliant. I've had a really fun morning so far, just listening to that clown mess about. So it's been absolutely fantastic. I love it. So thank you very much for making me morning, Wayne.
Anyway, we're just going to skip over that little incident and we're going to move on to what I actually brought myself. I'm very pleased today to say we've had a Swinton fan reach out to us and offer to sponsor the podcast. He's made a donation to Pride Builder, and it's actually Glenn Roberts with his sobriety drinks. He does a numerous of non-alcoholic, low-calorie, vegan-friendly, all a lot of it. For example, you can get yourself a nice low alcohol, pretty much zero alcohol, rosé wine. He does a juniper and gin, and there's others out there. So have a look over at sobrietydrinks.com and have a look what Glenn offers. And a big thank you to Glenn.
Brilliant, yeah.
Could I just say a big thank you to Glenn, and he might have. I think he might have opened something up there, because Glenn is now my number one target for a match sponsorship in 2022. So thanks Glenn, for knowing you're open to sponsorship.
Brilliant.
Very good.
Yeah. That's it. And I think the thing is, for all them vegans out there, you can go out, especially the vegans that don't drink. You can go out for a real good night out with your mates. You can smash in a cabbage when you get home, and then you can have yourself a non-alcoholic drink. That sounds like an amazing night out to me. That. So if you want,
I wouldn't recommend tipping it in your hoodie pocket though. That's not ideal.
Brilliant. At least it's not going to be sticky because there's no like sugar or alcohol in it or anything like that. So you'll be fine. So your mum will be all right when she's washing that.
We need to move on. Right. Cheers, Glenn. Thank you.
Yeah. So this week's wine o'clock for me. I've been sort of back to an old favourite. I've been on the Almeca, which is a tequila, obviously a Mexican tequila, but I only drink silver tequila because it doesn't like make me want to vom whenever I drink it. So the Almeca tequila has been the one for me. So what about you, Steve? What have you been drinking this week?
Well, drink of choice during the day is strictly tea, but we're nearly at 2 o'clock now, so that opens up the floodgates. I'm actually sat in at the bottom of the garden in our converted. I call it the shed. Leslie calls it a summer house. Right. It's a bit like Sally off Coronation Street, delusions of grandeur. No, I'm only kidding, Leslie, because.
Steve,
I think it is the time where I'll show that I can learn my lesson, and I'll take a sip of Glenn's juniper and top.
Bit of a beer snob, if I'm being honest with you.
Not bad at all, and it went in my mouth.
I'm big on my real ales and craft beers and foreign bottle beers. So that's what I would drink when I'm relaxing, enjoying myself.
Yeah, I think last time I went out for a beer with you, Steve, we ended up in the Oxford in Salford. It's got quite a few real ales in there, so that's nice booze.
Cracking little pub.
Yeah, fantastic. Right, so moving on. What we're going to have a look at, Steve, is we're going to have a chat with you, sort of about your role at the club, about sort of you individually. If there's anything you want to have a chat about, sort of so on and so forth, you just let us know. So first question we've got is, obviously COVID's been massive in the news at the moment. How are the club actually coping with COVID? Because I think the things that we're seeing in the press, it seems quite positive. It's like it's been not necessarily a good thing for the club, but it's not necessarily been a bad thing for the club either.
No, it's we're not in a bad place, but we're not complacent either. one or two advantages came our way. First of all, I've got to give credit to the RFL for getting Super League, keeping Super League on the TV last year. I think in many respects the RFL get a bit of a bad press, but I've got nothing but admiration for the way they've pulled the sport through the current pandemic. It was certainly absolutely critical that we kept Super League on the TV, because that meant that the Sky central funding continued to flow, and of course part of that funding comes down to Championship and League One clubs. So we were able to carry on receiving our central funding, which, to be fair, was fairly decent compared with what we've had in previous years, owing to our good 2019 league position. Added to that, there was government furlough, of course, so we were able to furlough the lads for a long period during 2020 when it became clear that we wouldn't be returning to play. I can also add to that the fact that we don't own our own ground. We only pay Sale on a match-by-match basis, and of course we weren't playing. That said, Sale have been hugely supportive as well. So all in all, and of course we weren't paying win and lose bonuses because we weren't winning and losing. So a lot of things actually were okay for us. What we're conscious of, though, is we're conscious we don't want to be in a false position, because all of that can quickly unfold. Now we're talking about the huge cost now of testing. I don't know if you know, but we now have to test for COVID twice a week. There's a significant expense for that, which the club has to fund. There's the potential for us playing behind closed doors, which, of course, in the long term is completely unsustainable for any club, let alone a club like Swinton Lions. So whilst we've got ourselves in a reasonable position with no undue panic, we're conscious of the fact that things can very, very quickly change. So yeah, we're okay, but not complacent, I think, is probably the message.
Yeah, fantastic.
Have the club got things in place, obviously, for if we can play with fans in the ground, if we have to play behind closed doors? Have you got like different strategies in place that we might have to do this and that sort of thing?
I suppose the big thing really, Wayne, is we have to make ourselves compliant with government and RFL protocol around the coronavirus, in terms of both return to train and return to play, which are two separate matters. And the paperwork and the conditions that we've had to satisfy are just, it's mind-boggling, really, the lengths and the hoops we've had to jump through. Rightly so, of course, because living through a terrible pandemic, and we've got a duty of care to everybody associated with the club, and we've got to do it anyway because the government tells us we've got to do it. But by and large, we have to comply with the same conditions as Man United or Man City, essentially. There's elite club protocol, and United fall under that, and Swinton Lions fall under that. If we want to train, then we have to fulfil all the criteria. So it was a massive undertaking just to get back on the training field. I've got to give huge credit here to the staff, the backroom staff, who've absolutely gone above and beyond the call of duty in enabling us to get back on the training field. We missed November because of the pandemic. We went back in December for 3 weeks, then had Christmas off, and then of course went into this second lockdown. We had another couple of weeks off, and then we were told that provided all the criteria were being met, tightened criteria, we could go back to training. So we've been back in training this week. So we're limited on what we can do in terms of full-on contact. You just can't do that under the current guidelines. Yeah. It's like a staged set of guidelines, which are progressively staged. So we can't actually have full contact at the moment, but hopefully that will come in further down the line. But I think for the lads and for Stuart Littler, it was just good to get back on the training field because, you know, these lads live and breathe the rugby, don't they? And they weren't even allowed to train for the best part of 7-8 months. So I think they just thrilled to be back on the park really and just doing press ups and throwing the ball around. So you know, we'll get there.
I think that was one of the things that when we spoke to Luke and Rodri, one of the things that they were saying that the fact that they are at a club like Swinton when the team is so close knit, that the lads are putting the work in when they're not on a training pitch. So when they get on there, they don't have to do messing about on the fitness because the fitness is already there. So they can get through to sort of the drills aspects of it. And like you say, they can't do the contacts at the moment, but having that sort of in your back pocket, done and dusted and boxed off before they even get there, that must be good for sort of Stu and Alan and the rest of the backroom staff. Now, obviously, we've not seen the lads play for over 12 months now. What are the new lads like? How are the new signings coming along? Because have you been out training and had a look at them?
Yeah, I've been down a couple of times just to say hello and just introduce myself. I've been down with Damien a couple of times. I must admit, I've not had, because of the situation, I've not had a chance personally to speak at any length to any of them really. But I think just in terms of our general recruitment strategy, what Stuart wants to do is not just get good players in, which of course I think we're doing, but get right characters in as well. People who fit into his way of thinking. And I think, I don't know if you saw his interview in the rugby papers on Monday. He gave a really good outline of that strategy. But yeah, I met up with Martin Ridyard when we first signed Martin, and he's a really nice fella, really down to earth. You know, quite unassuming, but you know you can tell he's a confident lad as well. Yeah. So I'm really excited about what Martin might bring to the club. Geronimo Doyle seems like a lovely fella. Again, I've only met him in passing really when he first came down to training. Seems like a nice lad. Seems quiet, but you know, like a thoughtful sort of a guy. And I think he'll be a bit of an unknown quantity for us this year. And I think he could go well. And then obviously I keep in touch with Stu regularly, and he gives me little updates. But I know he's pleased with all the signings. Met Liam Forsyth, had a good chat with Liam when he first came in. I think he's absolute quality, and we were thrilled to get him over the line as well. Shout out here, I think, to Pride Builder as well. I think, I mean, we would have recruited a squad anyway, of course we would, because you know that's what we're in the business of doing. But what Pride Builder did, and the superb input of everybody who's involved with Pride Builder, it just gave us that added confidence to go shopping in a slightly different shop, if you know what I mean. And it gave us a little bit more confidence to target a different player. That's not to say that you know we don't think that all of our players have got great qualities, but to take I mean, Liam, for example, was in a full-time rugby position at his previous club, and the fact that he was happy to come and play for Swinton Lions, I think it tells you a lot of where we're at the moment and the progress that we're making.
Yeah.
I think from a fan's point of view, I think it's clear to see there has been a level or two up in the level of play that we've actually brought in. You know what I mean? The players you've just mentioned, you know, they are clearly players that have played or still playing at the top of the championship. And from a fan's point of view, you know, with the help of the Pride Builder and the club being in a good position, that's exactly what we want to see.
Yeah, I mean, there's Sam Brooks as well, who I didn't mention. Sam, I believe he was forward of the year, wasn't he? Championship forward of the year a couple of years ago when he was at Featherstone. So he'll give us a lot of. We call it grunt now, don't we? Go forward. Young Colby, the halfback, Stuart tells me he's got a lot of qualities. Could be our future halfback for many years to come. The opportunity's there for him. Lewis Roberts from Salford, he won a lot of plaudits there. Becoming a lad at Salford, probably wasn't quite going to get in their squad, but he's got a great opportunity with us now. Stuart, I know was pleased with our recruitment. I know we lost one or two, but we always lose one or two. That's just the way of the world. I don't see that as a reflection on the club whatsoever. But and we'll probably lose players in the future. But the future plan, as Stuart said in his piece in the rugby papers, was that we want to move this club to a position where we're less likely to lose our stars in the future, and that's whether we achieve that or not. I don't know. We have to turn it on its head and make it a positive. If we're seen to be a club that's bringing in young players and developing them and moving them on to Super League clubs or clubs at the very top end of our league, and those players are going with their blessing with an invitation that they'll always be welcome at Swinton in the future. That's a great recruitment tool. The fact that we've lost a player is actually an outstanding recruitment tool. The moment we start being funny with our players, then they're not going to want to come to us.
Yeah.
So I think we're doing things the right way and developing a culture.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Definitely.
I
think you mentioned Go on, Barry. Go on.
I was just going to say, for me, if any lad that comes into us goes to a team that is top 4 championship or on a Super League or something like that, I'm genuinely happy for him because it is a step up. And if young lads that come into a team and do really well in the way that Matty has and so on, I'll drive them there myself. I'll drive them to that club myself, and I'll help them pack the bags, and I'll be really pleased for them, and I'll shake their hand and say thank you for everything that you've done for us. Because if they're going to bigger and better things, then that means what they've done for us has been fantastic, and you can't ask for any more than that.
Yeah, I got a lovely message from Frankie Alton when he decided he was going to Featherstone, and he said he just thanked everybody at Swinton for everything we've done for him. And we thoroughly enjoyed himself at the club, and he'd never forget us. And he was going with a heavy heart, but it was something he had to do for his own career. And what can you say? He's a lovely lad. We wish him the very best. We hope he gets into Super League, and then maybe one day he'll come back and play for something else.
Yeah. I mean, there's no reason he can't because he's got everything. So you know what I mean? He's a top lad. I mean, you just going back to a little bit further there. You mentioned the pride builder, and obviously we've got the trust as well at Swinton. So we're quite lucky in the way that we've got a couple of different revenue streams because we've got like I say, we've got everything that Reese, Dave, and Tim do, and then we've got Tracy and Steve on the trust. How does it go for you guys? Do you find that the trust and the pride builder in the club, do they work really well together? Because I know that Tim said at the time there's been in the past where the club have gone to him and asked for money for a certain player, and the pride builder have gone, well, that's not the type of player that we want to be seen to be helping bring in. So is it quite a positive relationship you've got? Is it a relationship where you can say no to each other?
I was slightly confused by that, from being honest with you. We wouldn't go to Pride Builder in the first place unless we felt that the player that we were targeting was going to bring value to the club. Maybe something was slightly lost in translation there. I'm not sure. Yeah. But sure, I'm not criticising anything that Tim said because I watched that podcast and it was an outstanding interview. Enjoyed it and fully endorse everything that Tim said. But yeah, we do have a good relationship. As I said before, what Pride Builder has given us the confidence to widen our net. What would normally happen is we would target a player, have a look at the finances surrounding that, and then sometimes we go to Pride Builder to say, look, we could do a little bit of assistance to get this one over the line. Can you help us? And to be honest with you, I can't think of an occasion where we've been turned down flat. The negotiation might have been as to what level of support Pride Builder can give us, and that's not them being funny about it. It might just be a case of how much funds they've got in the pot at the time. So there might be a conversation around whether it's feasible or not, because whether is the money there. But we have a great relationship with Pride Builder. Speak to Tim and Dave and Reese regularly. You'll have seen on the kit we put the Pride Builder logo on the back of the kit as a tribute to Pride Builder. We've done that as a club. There's no money exchange on hands for that. But we think commercially, if that attracts 3,000 or 4,000 quid's worth of extra members, then it's a correct commercial decision, isn't it? To on the shirt. So but and the support. You mentioned the supporters trust as well, Barney. Of course, we've got Steve Parker, who's chair of the trust, and he sits on the club board. It's not an easy position. I've been in that position a few myself, albeit about 15 years ago. And you have to wear two hats, and it's not an easy hat to wear at times. No. But I think Steve does a really good job there, and you've seen what Tracy does as well with the auction site and what they do on a match day. It's just great to see everybody mucking in and doing their bit towards the same common goal. And I think it's important. It's not so the club can take its foot off the pedal. I want to really emphasise that. I think it's so important that we maximise income streams from as many different sources as we possibly can. Not to make it easy for the club, but to make it better for the club. I think if you have a club where you're relying on one person putting the money in, you're on a very, very dodgy ground as a company, as a limited company, as an organisation. But as soon as that person either gets fed up or his funds dry up, you're in a mess. Yeah. So the philosophy under the current board has been we need to maximise all of our income streams and to build relationships, not just to expect we call our major sponsors. I'd rather refer to them as partners now than a sponsor. I think there was a day where you go to a sponsor and say, "Do you fancy having a yellow on the shirt for the year?" "Yeah, how much?" "A couple of grand." "Yeah, go on, thanks." And that was the sum total of the conversation. I think we want to do things We want to do things differently now. We've built up a really good relationship with Glossop Caravans, for example, who I'm hoping will be on the front of the shirt for the next 10 years. Stan there, who's a former Swinton player back in the late 60s, early 70s. He keeps in touch and we have a good relationship. It's a pity, really. We've got one or two other sponsors in last year, club partners, commercial partners, and then of course the season never happened. But great to see that I don't need to name them. If you just look down the shirt, the logos on the shirt, those companies have stayed with us this year, and I'm absolutely desperate to be able to give them something back and show them what Swinton Lions is all about on a match day, and what the club's all about as a friendly family organisation. And let's do it together. Let's build the club together.
I think that is the key part of it, Steve. All these, if you like, arms we have the trust, we have the Pride Builder. You've got sponsors or partners, as you like to call them, and even fans that chip in other ways. It's just important to have everybody pulling in the same direction, isn't it? Everybody wants the same result, and that's what's important.
Yeah, there's a kind of a caveat to all this, and we have to be wary of the direction of travel of the game in general, in terms of the relationships with the broadcasters. You'll be aware that the current Sky deal is coming to an end at the end of 2021. what it looks like beyond that is still largely an unknown question. So we as a board, our responsibility is we can only control the controllable. So what we're setting out to do is to place the club, the company, in the best possible position that it can possibly be in at the end of 2021. Then regardless of what 2022 throws at us, we're in the best possible position to deal with it. And the fact that we've got the likes of the Supporters Trust and the Prime Builder giving us that, that broadening our source of income is absolutely critical. So yeah, we have to be aware of the direction of travel. We've developed a strategic plan. Myself and Damien, we drew up a 32-page document in October, November, which went over to Rugby League just to outline where we are as a club and what our vision is. We thought it was important to do that in view of recent events, that we were seen to be a club that was being proactive, that was looking to the future. And as I say, we presented a plan there to the NFL, which we'd like to share that with the fans, but it's something I think that has to be done face to face. So as soon as it's possible to go up to Swinton Legion or at the ground or whatever it may be, we will certainly share that document with the supporters, so everyone understands what it is that we're trying to do. But do you want me to carry on talking? I can expand on that. I'll expand on that a little bit. From the NFL's perspective, you'll probably heard of this phrase, return on investment. Now, what that essentially means is that the NFL are no longer going to be dishing out essential funding just based on your league position. Now, there you go, champs. You finished 8th, 9th. That's your money. Crack on. That money is going to become more and more dependent on what your club is contributing to the game as a whole. The NFL couldn't care less whether Swinton Lions finished 1st or 14th in the championship. They couldn't care less. They understand that someone's going to come bottom and someone's going to come top. What they're interested in is what are those 14 clubs doing to promote the game of rugby league, and they have these key pillars, and these are more fans. So what are you doing to build up your attendances? Player development. And that's not professional player development. That could be ladies rugby. You'll have seen how the Swinton Lionesses. This is where the Swinton Lionesses comes into all this equation. Young player development. What you're doing in your communities to get more kids involved in rugby league. How do you govern yourself? How is your company set up? Have you got the right people in the right places? So excellent governance, to put it in a nutshell. More digital. So how many Facebook members have you got? How many Twitter followers have you got? How many Instagram followers have you got? How many people visit your website? How many people engage with you? How many Our League members have you got? That's a big one. That's a massive one, because it's off Our League that the RFL can go to a potential broadcast and say, look, we've got 250,000 signed up members here. And to a broadcaster, that carries a lot of value. So that's why the RFL is so big on Our League, and that's why we keep banging on about it. And I love every one of our fans to go out and just get 10 people signed up for Our League. It doesn't matter if, it could be your great aunt who doesn't really care less. Get her signed up. She's a number. And the other one they're looking at is financial sustainability, which comes back to the importance of Prime Builder Supports Trust, the reliability of your club partners. That's not to say, by the way, that the current board has been hesitant in putting money in, because there's been some significant amounts of money put in, but to underpin the sustainability of the club, not willy-nilly to buy a flash player. It's been money well spent. For example, we saw the importance of gaining full control of the company. If we were going to put all these plans in place that I've been banging on about for the last 10 minutes, there's no point in doing that if you haven't got full control of the company. So that was I think it kind of went under the radar a little bit, but I can't emphasise how important a move that was for for ourselves as a current board to gain full and unfettered control of the company. The current board now, I think if you include Dave Jones, who's obviously still there in the background as our honorary president, I think we've got about 80% of the ownership of the club now, and even that other 20% is diehard Swinton fans. So the actual ownership of the club, in my opinion, has never ever been safer. So I think that was a huge move forward by the board. So I just thought that it kind of gives you a bit of a flavour of where we're what we're trying to do, just the overall strategic plan.
Yeah. I know that in our house when I found out we got control of the club, or you guys got control of the club. I say we as in because I now feel as though the people that own this club are part of us, whereas in the past that's not always been the case. So when we as an entity got control of the club, there was definitely a party in our house. There was a few gin and tonics there done in that night, and it was a celebration to say the least. And it's interesting you mentioned return on investment and things like that, because I think that's something that's becoming more and more prevalent throughout every industry. And you also mentioned the R League app. Now I've got the R League app. It's absolutely fantastic. There's Rugby League on there. You can vote on the games that are on Sky. It is brilliant. And if you've not got the Rugby League R League app, it's dead easy to download. You can download it to your phone. It even asks you what club you support. It's a drop-down menu, so it's dead easy to fill in, and you can set it up for anybody. If anybody leaves a phone line about at work, sign them up for our league, because it is absolutely brilliant. It's really, really good. Can't say how good it is. And sort of another thing is, I can't get my head around why Sky are only offering 20 million a season for Super League. It's one of the best sports out there, and I think I worked out it was equivalent. They pay about £4.2 million a game for the Premier League, and then they want to spend 20 million on an entire season for it. I just can't get my head around it. It's an absolute coup for Sky if they get it for that price, because they must make hand over fist on that. Because I know I've just signed up for Sky for ready for the Super League season. So
there's no way I can sit here as a senior official of a club and say anything but positive as far as Sky is concerned, because they've underpinned the game for many years, and they're an absolutely pivotal and important part to Rugby League, and I can only speak highly of Sky as I would any other sponsor of the backer of the game.
Cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we've got about 5 minutes, 4.5 minutes left now, so we'll try and speed this
Should
up.
we get on to a couple of fans' questions then that we've had in, Steve?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Well, I'll start with the first one. I'm not going to name people because I didn't really ask it all that. We've had one about season tickets, basically. So an update on season tickets, and he kind of asked about last year's. Will he be able to get his card type thing as a memento?
Yeah.
And going forward, is there any news on season tickets? Obviously, we know the situation, but that was the question.
I think the position we're in with regards to season tickets, and we discussed this last week at a board meeting. I think we're actually reluctant to issue season tickets this year for a number of different reasons. We're conscious of the fact that 93% of you donated your season ticket monies for 2020 to the club, and the other 7% had outstandingly good reasons why they needed some or all of the money back. So we're conscious of the fact that there's already been a fantastic donation from the fans. Also, we don't know how many games we're going to be playing behind closed doors and whether that comes to fruition. So we could be conscious of the fact that we could be charging people for matches that they won't be able to see, albeit the likelihood is you'll be able to see it on a stream. We're playing 2 games less. It looks like 11 league fixtures now rather than 13. To sell a season ticket, you normally give away 2 games, free as part of the incentive to buy a season ticket. So where the hell you price it, for one thing, and just I think is we're in the middle of a pandemic and a lot of people are struggling, and to go asking for another big lump sum from people who've already donated nothing back, I'm just a little bit loath to do it really, and I think that's the position of the board. So
exactly. It may work better for people's finances as well. Like say, you don't have to put X amount down; they can just pay as you go type thing, which might work out better for people.
That's it, Wayne, yeah. And if I look through the list of our season ticket holders, I probably know everybody individually, and I know that those people will probably come to the games come what may anyway. So if those people are paying 11 times at the turnstile, we're not going to see any overall loss of income. So obviously we have to take that into account as well, the financial side of it. So I don't think we suffer too much financially anyway. Plus, I think it might be more advantageous to the fans to spread that cost. In terms of the ticket itself, we will distribute them, and that will then substitute as a membership card. We spoke about the 1866 club and that type of thing. Because of COVID, I'm not entirely sure what that membership looks like, to be honest with you at the moment. We'll have to see how things pan out and what sort of benefits we can offer as membership of that club. But that's what your card will be used for. So yes, we will. If you donate your season ticket money, you will physically get your card. Yes.
Cool. Right, we've got about a minute left now. So I'm going to ask you one last question from Mark Stevens. Who would win in a fight? 1,000 flea-sized elephants or 1 elephant-sized flea? Just a one-word answer off you.
The single elephant.
Right, fair enough then. I'll set that.
Good job.
Thank you very much. Right, thanks for your time, Steve. It's been absolutely brilliant having you on. Really, really pleased. Like I say, sign up for our league app if you can. We're going to juggle about the podcast, so I don't know who's next, because we're going to try and get you out, Steve, at 7 days. In the next few days. So we'll take it from there. So thank you very much for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on. Later on in the season, we'll definitely get you on again as well.
No problem, mate. I'm happy to come on again whenever you want to.
Fantastic. That's brilliant.
Good luck with what you're doing.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thanks ever so much.
Thanks a lot, Dave.
Yeah, cheers, Wayne. Cheers, Marty.
And before we go, a big shout out to Glenn again for the sobriety drinks. Thanks a lot.